Hello. I am James, and I live in Manchester in the UK. And you're listening to English with a Brew, a podcast where I talk about different day-to-day topics to help you learn English the most natural way possible. And that is only by listening to it. And if you want to support this podcast, read transcripts, and get exclusive access to more episodes, go to patreon.com/English with a Brew. As we say in Manchester, get a brew on, and let's get started. Hello, and how are you today? I hope you're doing good, and that the sun is shining wherever you are today. Today's episode is, well, not a good episode to listen to if you are feeling hungry. Because we're talking about a trip to the bakery and all the things you can find inside a bakery. A bakery is where you can go to buy all different types of freshly baked food. One of the most obvious things, perhaps, is bread. You can buy white bread, which is maybe the most common type, or brown bread, which is usually, sometimes, not always, a little more healthy. Seeded bread with small seeds on the outside or on the crust of the bread. There's different shapes of bread too. You can get loaves of bread, similar to the ones you buy in a supermarket. Perhaps this is the most typical shape. Or baguettes, which are long sticks of bread. Or you can buy individual bread rolls, which are round and a bit smaller. Another type of thing altogether that you can get at a bakery is usually pastries. And pastries are things like croissants, made from lots of layers of pastry and butter. When you make croissants or anything similar, the act of layering the pastry is called lamination. And of course, croissants aren't the only pastry you can get. There are sweet pastries like Danish pastries. There's tarts with different types of fruit on top, like apricot or rhubarb, anything really. Or a Portuguese tart, which is called a pastel de nata and has a kind of egg custard filling. There are also savory pastries. One pastry that is very common and very popular here in the UK is a pasty. And really, a pasty can have pretty much anything inside. It can have any filling that you like. But the famous, well-known type of pasty is a Cornish pasty, which is called a Cornish pasty because, well, originally it comes from the county of Cornwall in the southwest of England. I think originally, to have the name Cornish, it needed to be made in Cornwall, but I'm not sure if that's still true today. And in a Cornish pasty, there is normally beef, which is the meat from a cow, and vegetables like potatoes, onions, and swedes. So we've talked about bread. We've talked about pastries. Now we can get on to the really important stuff, the cakes. And if you hadn't already guessed, I love a cake. I would say I think there is no type of cake on this earth that I don't like. But if I had to choose a favorite, it would be a cake that my grandma used to make when I was younger. And that cake is a coffee and walnut cake. So if I'm in a bakery and I see a coffee and walnut cake, you know what's happening. I'm eating that cake. My ideal coffee walnut cake is a perfectly baked cake. It has 2 layers and it has lots of icing on it, icing between the layers and on top of the cake. And on top of all of that, there are maybe 20, 25 walnuts placed on the icing, so that you get maybe 1 or 2 walnuts with every slice of cake. But like I said, I love all cake. I'm not fussy. I particularly like carrot cake, and I also enjoy a Victoria sponge, which has vanilla icing and some type of fruit jam in the middle. Usually raspberry, I think, but I'm not exactly sure. Do you have a bakery near where you live? Where we live, we're quite lucky. We have a small independent bakery, quite close, only about a 7-minute walk from our house. And everything I have eaten there has been incredible. They have gluten-free options, vegan options, and normal options, so there is something for everyone. And maybe, just maybe, that's what I'll go and do now. I'm going to buy myself a cake, and then I'll post a picture of it on my Patreon. Anyway, what's your favorite type of cake or item or thing that you buy in a bakery when you go? Let me know, and until next time, take care. And that's everything for today's episode of English with a Brew. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did or if you didn't, and tell me which topics you'd like to hear me talk about in future episodes. And don't forget, you can read the transcript for this episode and get access to more exclusive content over on my Patreon page. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is where you are right now. Take care.